Hey there. Welcome to Midnight Whisper Tales ASMR. Just a quick note before we begin. There are only a few ads at the start of the video, and after that, it's completely uninterrupted. So once you settle in, you can just relax and drift into the story. If you enjoy this kind of content, a like or a subscription really helps support the channel, but only if it feels right to you. And if you'd like, tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time of day it is for you right now. There's something special about knowing we're all here together in different corners of the world. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, maybe let some soft background noise fill the room, and let's begin.
Part 1. The door was already open when Daniel got home. Not wide, not enough to notice right away, just slightly. He stood there for a second, keys still in his hand, looking at the thin line of darkness between the door and the frame. He was sure, absolutely sure, that he had locked it before leaving. Daniel was the kind of person who checked things twice, sometimes 3 times. Lights, stove, door. Especially the door. He lived alone. 4th floor, end of the hallway. No neighbors directly across. No reason for anyone to ever be here. And yet, the door was open. A few centimeters. Just enough. A quiet breath slipped out of him. Not panic. Not yet. Just awareness. He listened. The hallway behind him was silent. The building always was at this hour. Inside the apartment, nothing. No movement. No footsteps. No voices. Just stillness. Daniel pushed the door open. Slowly. The hinges didn't creak. They never did. The apartment looked normal. Couch, table, lamp, everything exactly where it should be. But something felt off. Not visually, not immediately, just wrong. The kind of wrong you can't explain, but you feel it anyway. Daniel stepped inside. The door closed behind him. Soft. He didn't remember pushing it. For a moment, he just stood there, listening. Then, he heard it. A sound so faint he almost missed it. A soft, irregular shift, like fabric moving from somewhere deeper in the apartment. Daniel turned his head slightly. The bedroom. The door was open. He never left it open. A slow breath in. Hello? His voice sounded smaller than usual. No answer. Just silence again. But now, the silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. Daniel took a step forward. The floor didn't creak. Another step. The bedroom doorway sat ahead of him, dark inside, just enough light from the living room spilling in to shape the edges. He stopped just before entering. Something about the darkness felt deeper than it should be. as if the room wasn't just unlit, but absorbing the light. He leaned slightly, just enough to see inside. Bed, window, chair, everything normal. And yet, the chair, it was facing the bed. Daniel blinked. No, that wasn't right. He always kept the chair against the wall. Always. He stepped inside the bedroom. Slow, careful. The air felt colder here.
Part 2. The shape in the hallway. Daniel didn't move. The sound came again. A step. Soft, measured, not rushed, not hiding, just moving from the living room toward the hallway, toward him. Daniel's body stayed perfectly still, but his eyes shifted, locking onto the doorway. Nothing there, just the dark stretch of the hallway and the faint outline of the front door far beyond it. Another step. Closer now. Daniel felt his chest tighten. There was no mistaking it anymore. Someone was inside the apartment, and they were walking, slowly, deliberately, toward the bedroom. Daniel's mind tried to catch up. Did he leave the door open? Did someone follow him in? Was this a mistake? None of those thoughts felt right, because the steps didn't sound human. Not exactly. Too even, too controlled, like something that had learned how to walk by watching. Daniel's fingers twitched at his sides. He wanted to move, to hide, to run, but something inside him whispered, "Don't." The footsteps stopped, right outside the bedroom. Silence, thick, heavy. Daniel stared at the doorway, waiting. Nothing entered, nothing moved, and somehow that was worse. Seconds stretched, long enough that Daniel almost convinced himself it was over. Then a shadow shifted, just barely, at the edge of the doorway, not crossing it, not stepping in, just there. Daniel's throat tightened. Who's there? No answer. The shadow didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't shift again. It just stayed. And then, very slowly, it leaned. Not a step, not a full movement, just enough for something to peek around the corner. Daniel's stomach dropped because what appeared was not a face, not entirely. It was wrong. The shape of a head, but stretched, the proportions slightly off, eyes too far apart, or maybe too close. It was hard to tell, like his brain couldn't quite process what it was seeing. But one thing was clear. It was looking directly at him. Daniel couldn't breathe. The thing didn't blink, didn't move. It just watched. And then it smiled. Too wide, too slow, like it was practicing. Daniel took a step back. The floor creaked this time, loud, sharp. The thing's head tilted, curious, interested, and then it disappeared, gone from the doorway, just like that. Daniel stumbled backward, heart racing now, fast, too fast. He turned toward the window. Fourth floor, too high, no escape there. Behind him, a sound. Inside the room. Daniel froze. That wasn't possible. It had been in the hallway. He turned slowly. The chair. It had moved, just slightly, but enough. Now it was angled toward him. Daniel's breath caught, and then, from behind him, a whisper. Close, too close, right at his ear. "You saw me." Daniel spun. Nothing. The room was empty, completely empty, but the air felt occupied, like something stood just out of sight, just behind him, watching, learning, and then, from the hallway, footsteps again, but this time, running.
The footsteps were no longer slow. They were fast, too fast, crossing the hallway in seconds, not running like a person, running like something that didn't need balance. Daniel stumbled backward. The bed hit behind his knees. He caught himself, barely, and then the footsteps stopped, right outside the bedroom again. Silence, but not empty silence. This time, it was different. This time, it was listening. Daniel held his breath, completely still. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to move, to make noise, to do something, but he didn't. He couldn't, because he understood something now. The thing in the apartment was paying attention. To him, to every sound he made, to every movement. And then, a sound came from the living room. A chair scraping. Slow, deliberate. Daniel's eyes widened. That wasn't possible. The thing was in the hallway, right outside. So what was in the living room? The scraping continued, then stopped. Then, another sound. The front door handle. Turning. Daniel's chest tightened. The door opened. He could hear it. Slow. Controlled. Just like before. Then, footsteps. Inside. Again. Daniel's mind fractured. 2 sets. There were 2 sets of footsteps now. One in the hallway, one in the living room, both inside, both moving at the same time. The one in the hallway didn't move. It stayed there, waiting, while the other one walked through the apartment, exploring. Daniel's breathing became shallow because now he understood. It wasn't just moving, it was learning. The apartment, the layout, the sounds, the timing, everything. The footsteps in the living room stopped. Then, they walked again. But this time, they sounded different. Softer, more natural, more human. Daniel's stomach dropped. It was improving, adapting, learning how to sound like him. The footsteps in the hallway shifted slightly, just enough, a small movement, closer. And then, from the living room, Daniel heard it. His own voice. Hello? Perfect. Not distorted, not wrong. Perfect. Exactly how he sounded. Daniel's hands trembled. "No," he whispered. Too late. The voice came again. "Hello?" But this time, it wasn't coming from the living room. It was coming from the hallway, right outside the door, right where the thing was. Daniel backed away, slowly, his legs barely responding. And then, a third voice, from the living room again. "Who's there?" Now there were 2 of them, both using his voice, both inside. The one in the hallway stepped forward, just enough to be seen again. That same shape, that same wrong face, but now it was closer to correct, less distorted, less broken. as if it had adjusted, as if it had practiced. Daniel's breathing broke. A small sound, barely anything, but enough. The thing's head snapped toward him, too fast, too sharp, like a machine locking on to a target. And then it spoke. Not in the hallway, not from the living room, but from everywhere. Inside the walls, inside the air, inside the room. "I found you." Daniel turned. The window, the only option. He ran, fast. The footsteps exploded behind him. All of them, every direction. The hallway, the living room, the walls, the ceiling, everything moving at once. He reached the window, grabbed the handle, pulled. It didn't open. Locked. He didn't remember locking it. Behind him, silence. Instant. Complete. Daniel froze. Slowly, very slowly, he turned. The room was empty. Again. But the chair was gone.
Part 4. There was another room. The chair was gone. Not moved, not shifted, gone. Daniel stared at the empty space where it had been. The floor beneath it looked untouched. No marks, no drag lines, nothing. As if it had never existed at all. His breathing slowed, not because he was calming down, but because something deeper inside him was beginning to understand. The apartment was changing. Not violently, not suddenly, quietly, carefully, like something rearranging pieces on a board. Daniel stepped away from the window. Every movement felt deliberate now, measured, controlled, because he knew it was watching him, even when he couldn't see it. He moved toward the bedroom door again. The hallway beyond it looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. The distance seemed longer, the shadows deeper, the light weaker. Daniel stepped into the hallway. The air shifted, slightly warmer here, but heavier, like the space itself had weight. He turned toward the living room. Everything was still, exactly as before, except the front door. It was open, wider than before, not just a crack, enough for someone to walk through. Daniel didn't remember opening it. He didn't remember hearing it open again. But there it was, dark hallway beyond, silent, empty. Or at least, it should have been. Daniel took a step forward, then another, each step slower than the last, because something about the doorway felt wrong. Not the door itself, but what was beyond it. The hallway outside looked too long, longer than it should be. Daniel knew this building. He had lived here for 3 years. The hallway outside his apartment was short. 5 doors on each side, a turn at the end. That was it. But now it stretched farther than it should. The lights above flickered, dim, uneven. Daniel stopped at the threshold, didn't step out, couldn't, because something deep inside him said, if you go out there, you won't come back. He stepped back, slowly. The door didn't move. It stayed open, waiting. Daniel turned away from it, back into the apartment, and that's when he saw it. At the end of the hallway, a door, another door, one that hadn't been there before. Daniel froze. It stood where the wall should have been, plain, closed, no markings, no handle, just a door. Daniel's mind tried to reject it. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. But it was there, and somehow it felt older than the apartment, older than the building, older than anything that belonged here. He took a step toward it. The air grew colder, not gradually, suddenly, like crossing a boundary. Another step, the silence deepened. Even the distant hum of the building was gone. Only his breathing remained. And then It wasn't just his. Inhale, exhale, behind him. Daniel stopped, didn't turn. He already knew. It had moved again. It was closer now, much closer, matching him, following him. One step behind, always one step behind. Daniel reached the door, close enough to touch it. The surface looked wrong. Not wood, not metal, something in between. Too smooth, too still, like skin that wasn't breathing. He hesitated, then slowly raised his hand and touched it. Warm, just like the walls before, but this time it reacted. A subtle shift, a small movement beneath his palm, like something recognizing him. Behind him, the breathing stopped. Instantly, Daniel's hand froze against the door. Silence, absolute. And then, a whisper, right behind him, so close it brushed his ear. "You're ready." Daniel turned. Nothing, no one. The hallway empty. But the door in front of him, slowly began to open on its own.
Part 5. What was waiting inside? The door opened slowly. Not with a sound, not with a creak. Just movement. Smooth. Silent. Like it had been waiting for him to touch it. Daniel didn't move. He stood there, hands still hovering in the air, watching the darkness inside the doorway expand. Because that's what it felt like. Not a room being revealed, but darkness growing, spreading outward, reaching. The hallway behind him felt distant now, faded, like something already forgotten. The only thing that felt real was the space beyond the door. Daniel swallowed, his throat dry, his chest tight, and then he stepped forward. Just one step, across the threshold. The temperature dropped instantly. Not cold, not exactly, just empty, like the air had lost something. Weight, sound, presence. Daniel blinked. The space around him shifted, not visibly, but perceptibly. The darkness wasn't complete. There was shape, form, a room, or something pretending to be one. The floor stretched out beneath him, flat, endless. No walls, no corners, no ceiling he could see. Just space, dim, colorless, and quiet. Too quiet. Daniel turned back. The doorway was still there, but smaller now, farther away. Even though he had only taken one step, his breath caught. No! He moved toward it, fast, but the distance didn't change. The door remained where it was, just as far, just as unreachable. Daniel stopped, his heartbeat loud in his ears. Too loud. The sound echoed, softly. Then, something else echoed with it. A second beat, not his, slightly off, slightly delayed. Daniel turned, slowly, and that's when he saw it. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. A shape, standing in the distance, still, watching. It wasn't human, not entirely. The outline was wrong, too tall, too narrow, arms too long, hanging slightly too low, and the head tilted at an angle no neck should allow. Daniel couldn't breathe. The shape didn't move, didn't step forward, didn't approach, but somehow it was closer now,
without moving, without changing position. Closer. Daniel's body tensed, every instinct screaming at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. The space around him stretched infinitely, endlessly. The only fixed point was that thing. And then it spoke, not with a voice, not through sound, but directly into him. You left it open. Daniel's thoughts fractured. What? The shape tilted its head further. You let me in. A memory surfaced. The door, earlier, slightly open, just a few centimeters. Daniel's breath became uneven. I didn't. You did. The words weren't spoken. They were known, placed into him, like something inserting a thought. Daniel shook his head, stepped back, but the space didn't respond, didn't change, didn't care. The shape grew clearer, not closer, just clearer. And now, he could see its face, or what passed for one. It wasn't fixed. It shifted, subtly, like it was trying. Different versions, different shapes, different people. And then, it stopped. On one, Daniel's stomach dropped, because the face was his. Not perfectly, not completely, but close enough. Too close. The thing smiled. Slow, careful, practiced. I am almost right. Daniel stumbled back, his legs barely holding him. No! The thing's head straightened. Finally, perfectly aligned. I just need one more. Daniel froze. One more what? The smile widened. Too wide. Too familiar. Step.
Daniel didn't move. The word hung in the air. Step. Simple, quiet, but heavier than anything he had heard before, because something inside him wanted to obey. Not consciously, not willingly, but instinctively, like his body recognized the command, even if his mind didn't. His foot shifted, just slightly, forward. Daniel stopped himself, forced his weight back. No. The word came out weak, uncertain. The thing watched him. Its face, still his face, tilted just a little, evaluating, learning. You hesitate. Daniel's chest tightened. I'm not doing anything. The thing smiled again, but this time it wasn't practicing. It was understanding. You already are. The space around Daniel shifted, subtly, almost imperceptibly. The floor beneath him moved, not physically, but spatially, like distance itself was being adjusted. The thing was closer now, still standing where it had been, but closer. Daniel stepped back again, or tried to, but something resisted. Not force, not pressure, just absence. Like the space behind him no longer existed. He turned. The doorway, gone. Completely. No exit, no frame, no light, nothing. Daniel's breath broke. No, no. The thing took a step. This time, he saw it move. Slow, controlled, unnatural. Its limbs adjusted as it walked. Not smoothly, but correctly, like it was solving movement in real time, improving with every step. Daniel stumbled back again. This time, he moved, but the distance didn't change. The thing remained just as close, always just as close. You cannot leave. The words settled into him, heavy, certain. Daniel shook his head. There has to be a way. There was.
The thing's face softened, almost gentle now. You closed it too late. Daniel's thoughts scrambled. The door, the front door, earlier. Did he? A flicker of memory. Him entering, the door already open, not opening it, not closing it, just accepting it. Daniel's stomach dropped. You didn't lock it, the thing said. You didn't check. Its voice, perfect now, exactly his, every tone, every breath, every subtle shift. I needed that. The thing took another step, closer. Now, only a few feet away. Daniel could see details, too many details. The skin, almost right, but too smooth, too consistent. No imperfections, no variation, like a surface trying to imitate life. And the eyes, wrong. Not empty, not dark, just unfinished, like something still deciding what they should be. Daniel's legs trembled. What do you want from me? The thing tilted its head again, but this time it mirrored him perfectly, exactly the way he moved, the same angle, the same posture, the same hesitation. I want to be you. The words landed without sound. Daniel's vision blurred. You can't. I already am. The thing raised its hand, slowly, mirroring him again. Daniel realized his own hand was rising too, without him meaning to, without him choosing to. Their movements synchronized, perfect, identical. No. Daniel tried to stop, but his body didn't respond. The thing stepped closer, now face to face, close enough that Daniel could feel its presence. Not warmth, not cold, just existence. Wrong existence. I just need one more step. Daniel's foot moved, forward. He couldn't stop it, couldn't control it. The distance between them disappeared, their hands almost touching. Daniel's heart slammed in his chest. No! Too late. Their fingers met. Everything stopped.
Part 7. After the step. Everything stopped. Not slowly, not gradually. Instantly. Daniel's thoughts, gone. His breathing, gone. Even the space around him, gone. For a moment, there was nothing. No sound, no feeling, no self, just absence. And then, something returned. But it wasn't Daniel. The apartment was quiet again, exactly as it had been before. Couch, table, lamp, everything in place, still, undisturbed. The front door, closed now, perfectly aligned with the frame, locked from the inside. In the bedroom, someone sat on the edge of the bed, perfect posture, hands resting neatly on their knees, breathing steady, calm, measured. Inhale, exhale. It was Daniel, exactly. Every detail, every feature, every movement, perfect. He stood up, walked to the mirror, slow, controlled. He studied his reflection, tilting his head slightly, adjusting, observing. Then he smiled, and this time it was right. In the hallway, the new door was gone. The wall stood as it always had, plain, unbroken, no trace of anything unusual, no sign that anything had ever changed. The apartment was normal again, almost. Daniel stepped into the living room, his movement smooth now, natural, effortless. He reached the front door, placed his hand on the handle, paused,
just for a moment, as if remembering something or checking something. Then he turned it, unlocked, opened the door, just slightly, a few centimeters, and stepped back. The hallway outside was silent, empty, unaware. Daniel returned inside, sat on the couch, still, waiting. Minutes passed. Then, footsteps from the hallway, approaching, uncertain, normal, human. They stopped outside the door. A shadow shifted beneath the frame. And then, a key in the lock. The handle turned. The door opened, just slightly. From inside, Daniel didn't move, didn't speak, didn't react. He just watched, and softly, very softly, he whispered, "Come in." The door opened wider, and somewhere deeper in the apartment, something new began to learn. End of story.